In the Fallout universe, we are met with the idea of the capitalist US and corporations under contract like Vault-Tec trying to embody and preserve the ideas of democracy and capitalism, with Vault-Tec selling underground vaults to US residents, with their main mascots, of course, being Vault Boy and Vault Girl. Vault-Tec and the US government made the vaults to counter a threat that was already all over the walls of Boston, that has already infiltrated their land and borders without them knowing, and that has already attacked them in an unprovoked war over resources that are left on this earth. And that was, of course, being done because of communism in China. The Red Menace, the Red Scare, the Red Death. With this in mind, this is one of those videos where we gotta ask ourselves this one question. And that question is, what if China made a character to topple Vault-Tec in the US government? What would their perspective be like? What would this character's special stats be like? What would the character look like? What would the character's objectives be regarding to toppling the US government and Vault-Tec? Let's start off with what the character would look like. The character would look like an American to an extent, but would have a secret hint of Chinese descendancy. I detect a little communism. With their hairstyle having no apologies and her hair color being jet black. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit slow on their facial details and features. Starting off with their face preset being 4. Her forehead is gonna be starting off with smooth. Her eyebrows are average arched. Her eyelids are prominent too. Her eye color, once we move on to it, is amber. And then once we're done with that, she has a Roman 1 nose. And then we go to mouth, she's going to have prominent 1. Her neck is going to be light tan. Her skin tone is going to be pale. Her extras for makeup, once we get to it, we're going to start off with eyeliner 3, eyeliner 5, eyeshadow 1, 3, and lower eyeshadow 1. That should be done with makeup. There's no markings, so we're moving on to blemishes. She has lip color and red nose for blemishes. And then for damages, she has scar right brow long and right brow deep. And then for grime, there is no grime, no face paint, and her body is going to be a muscular thin because of her training in the Crimson Dragoon in the Chinese government. That is all for this character build as we speak. Regarding to the character's special or strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck, this is where the video starts getting interesting, because as you're with the Chinese, you normally would not have a special, because the Chinese normally did not have the Pip-Boy to show an individual's special stats. But your character has captured this Pip-Boy technology from Vault-Tec herself, and your special stats would read as follows. Because of your training from the Chinese government, army, and Crimson Dragoon units, your strength would be average, same as perception, with points negated from luck and charisma. But your endurance and intelligence would be above average, with your agility being the highest stat above all, making your melee weapon sneak builds absolutely OP if you have the ninja perk, as long as you have your strength also maxed out. So whatever you do, try your absolute best to use a melee weapon build when you're using this build. Before I move on from your character's special stats, I have to elaborate something regarding to your special. When it comes to your special in the Chinese Communist Party is not really supported or used for individualism. Rather, your special is used for the socialist collectivist ideas of the Communist Party and communities combined. So your special is basically not yours. It's ours, comrade. Okay, I'm getting into a tangent here. Let's move on to the character's objectives, directed by the Chinese. Commie Girl, otherwise known as Red, does not have very much information on her, except for the fact that, well, she may or may not have served in the Battle of Anchorage. There is one thing that is certain about the character, though, that we know of. The character does have a very nasty scar. Whether if it's from her just fighting in the Battle of Anchorage, we don't entirely know. But we do know that that battle scar or some sort of scar on her eye is there for certain. How she could have got that scar was from either a piece of shrapnel or maybe even a nearby building blew up and glass flew right into her eye and ended up jacking her whole entire face and eye up at one given point in time. Whatever the case, the character more than likely got medevaced out of Anchorage, which explains why she was still alive long enough to get her law diploma in the United States. However, this law diploma may have been fabricated, or she did go to school and did get a law diploma for it, but it's more than likely used as a clever disguise to not raise any suspicion from the US government as her being a Chinese spy. If that wasn't enough, she decided to go ahead and marry a US soldier and a United States citizen named Nate, and she even had a baby with him. As a Chinese spy, she more than likely would have tried to topple the US government and Vault-Tec by exposing its dirty secrets regarding to the vaults. The vaults were not really supposed to be used for saving the US citizens and of course the United States government by sheltering them. They were originally intended to be used as social experiments for all the US citizens, including the US government. Like, for example, Vault 108 has the Gary clones that shout Gary and try to murder you 24/7. If you thought this was disturbing, there is way worse. If you thought that was a brain-dead move on Vault-Tec's part, think about Smith Casey's garage in Vault 112, where if you get stuck in a memory lounger, you'll end up being enslaved forever. If that wasn't good enough for you, think about Vault 87 and the Supermans infesting that vault, alongside all the failed FEV experiments that look like your browser history sometimes. However, that would not be the only objectives Commie Girl would be tasked to do from the Chinese in Fallout 4. She also would have been tasked to do a sabotage operation on the USS Constitution, an 18th century naval ship that was refitted with some Mr. Handys, Protectrons, and a sentry bot named Ironsides. And on top of all that, the ship was also fitted with some rockets to help promote the war effort against Communist China. This sabotage can of course be done to cripple the US's will in the war effort, and there's even the quest The Last Voyage of the USS Constitution to do this sabotage in the first place. If you manage to sabotage the USS Constitution, then this would be considered a political propaganda and public relations victory for the Chinese, meaning you just scored a high social credit rating. But given the fact that you just destroyed the US's Constitution, the US Navy's historical symbol of power, you also gain negative social credit from the US and some of Fallout's player base. But it was all worth it, because doing this would have showed a weakness in US Army intel and would have humiliated the US government itself and would have resulted in a major media frenzy, causing derision among US citizens and the US government. Although sabotaging the US's Constitution would have been a decent sabotage operation, there was also other operations to consider that would have resulted in even more strategic value. By taking a look at this map, it shows that the US not only won in taking back Anchorage, but pushed China into a corner, which resulted in the Chinese being desperate to win this war. But something has changed. With the discovery of the U.S. developing the FEV virus through a defense contractor known as Westech, the Chinese have found this intel due to excellent infiltration and spies. When this was discovered, the Chinese demanded the U.S. to stop research on this project, with the U.S. declining. The Chinese had enough with the U.S. in the war, and so the bonds fell in October 2077, starting the end of the world as we know it, but starting the game of Fallout itself.
Hold on! Thing move faster. Oh god! Oh god! Oh god!
After the bonds fell in October 2077 and the dust settled, you as a Chinese remnant have given yourself this obligation and mission. It's to destroy anyone and everything that was involved in the FEV, otherwise known as the Forced Evolutionary Virus Project. That included the ex-US government deep state organization known as the Enclave itself. Because of their new FEV research, at the end of the day, you're destroying the last of the old US remnant, and you're trying to prove which country dominated. Nonetheless, all of these objectives don't show true watercolors on this drawing called Fallout 4. When the nuclear exchange in the beginning ended shortly after you taking cover in Vault 111 with your husband and baby, a mysterious group came out of nowhere, broke into Vault 111, shot your spouse, and stole your baby, starting the game of Fallout 4. In a broken post-apocalyptic world, you try your absolute damnedest to find your child, and you meet the powers may be, such as the Institute, a scientific organization hell-bent on dictating the Commonwealth, the Brotherhood of Steel, who's trying to stop their exploits of using tech for psychotic reasons, and then there's the Railroad, who's trying to be a wannabe Harriet Tubman freeing synth slaves. And last, and of course not least, the get-in loser, we're going to seize the means of production group, otherwise known as the Commonwealth's Minutemen, A.K.A. the Commie Men. No matter the powers may be, you have to choose one ending out of 5 endings and one faction out of all the factions to completely choose. At the whole entire end of the story, the list of socialist revolutions is incomplete. You can help by expanding it. Alright everyone, that's pretty much it for the whole entire video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment in the comment section below on what you all thought about the video. And don't forget to check my social medias in the link in the description below. And always remember, comrades, our biggest weakness in communism is capitalist McDonald's and Pepsi. But I digress. Anyways, I'll see y'all later. Peace out.